Hi everyone, this is Frank from What You Say in English. What you're about to see is a full mock exam that I did with two of my students. It's a full test. It was done online. It was done via Zoom. So it will never be a substitute for a real exam, but this is something that what my students wanted to do and wanted to hear my comments. So watch it, take some notes, and I hope it's useful for you. Good evening. My name is Frank, and this is my colleague, whatever. And your names are?
My name is Jesus.
And my name is Maria.
Thank you. Can I have your mark sheets, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, we'd like to know something about you. Jesus, where are you from?
I am from Alcorcón, that is a suburb located in the southwest part of Madrid.
Okay, that's a nice answer. Remember that you shouldn't extend too much, and that you should keep it as simple as possible. Basically, the idea of the first part of the interview part, remember that you will not have time to answer a lot of questions, and it's only 2 minutes. This first part is only 2 minutes, so extending on the answers doesn't make any sense. Okay, so very good. Thank you. And what do you enjoy about learning English?
Well, I think that the most enjoyable thing is to have the opportunity to be understood by another person.
Good. That's a good answer. Thank you. And Maria, what do you do?
I'm an industrial engineer, and I work as a bid project manager.
And how long do you plan to continue doing that?
For the next 5 years, more or less, because I need a change every 5 years.
Thank you. That's good. I think you noticed that you should extend. I mean, the first answer you gave was good, but I believe you noticed that I didn't say anything. So this is something that you also have to keep in mind. You know, when the examiner doesn't start to speak immediately after you finish, take it as a sign of extend, because otherwise, if you keep quiet, the examiner will probably do something like, encouraging you to continue, to extend the answer. But very good, very good. I'm glad that you extended the answer. Very good. Jesus, how important do you think it is to get on well with your neighbors?
Well, it's very important. It depends on the construction. For example, I live in a building, and it's quite important, and at the same time to know that you have to live in community. So noises and these kind of things are very common.
I'm a little confused with the structure. Noise, this, I'm not really sure how you wanted to make the negative. It is not, for example, I would probably say, but let me go back a little bit and listen to that again.
It depends on the construction. For example, I live in a building, and it's quite important, and at the same time to know that you have to live in community. So noises and
noises. It is not. It is not.
These kind of things are very common.
Thank you. And Maria, tell me about a special journey you have made.
I have made a trip to Thailand with my husband, and we have enjoyed it there very much because.
I think it would have been more effective if you had said past simple. I made a trip. I think the word you said trip, right? Let me check again.
Things are very common.
Thank you. And Maria, tell me about a special journey you have made.
I have made a trip to Thailand with my husband, and we have.
I'm not sure about the collocation with made a trip. Um, I took a trip. I would say take a trip. And past simple. You use present perfect, and even though it's okay, um, you're not. You didn't mention when the action took place, but remember that when we use present perfect, I mean it's better in this way because you're probably talking about a very specific time in the past, or that's what you probably have in mind. So using past simple would have been a lot better in this situation. And the collocation is uh, took a trip. Yeah, I made a trip. I took a trip.
Enjoy it there very much because we like a lot the Asian way of thinking.
Okay, we like a lot the Asian way of thinking. We like the Asian way of thinking a lot. I would leave the a lot at the end. Remember that when we use expressions like very much or a lot, I would probably leave them. I mean, it sounds a lot better if you leave it at the end. Okay. Thank you. In this part of the test, I'm going to give each of you 3 pictures. I'd like you to talk about 2 of them on your own for about a minute, and also to answer a question briefly about your partner's pictures. Jesus, here are your pictures. They show people who are laughing. I'd like you to compare 2 of the pictures and say what you think the relationships between the people are and why they are laughing. All right?
All right.
Go ahead. Okay. I thought about this when we were doing the exam. When the examiner says, all right, that's when you have to start. Okay? Because that's the time that they write down. I mean, if you pay attention, when the examiners are doing the test, we have to write down the times because you have to speak for 1 minute. And of course, to keep control of the time, I write it down. So I write down the time you should start after I say, all right. And I count 1 minute and I write it down because I have to look at that. I have a timer in front of me, and of course, if you, I mean, if we usually look down. I mean, like, all right, and then we look down. When we look down, that should be your cue to start speaking. Don't wait for the examiner to look at you again, and say, okay, start. Okay, so keep it in mind. Okay, so when we say all right, that's when you have to start speaking. Okay. Good.
Okay, I shall consider picture number 1 and number 2. Picture
It's a little odd. It's a little strange when students, candidates say picture number 1 and picture number 2 because they don't have any numbers. Um, I would probably say something like the first 2 pictures. I would like to talk about the first 2 pictures. I think it sounds more natural because looking at numbers. I mean, we don't put numbers in the real booklets. They don't have any numbers. They don't say A, B, C. They don't say 1, 2, 3. So I think it would be a lot better, for example, if you say, I would like to talk about the first 2 pictures. If you want to talk about the last 2 pictures or the picture in the middle, and the last picture, the first and the last picture, for example. Okay. Um, so saying the numbers does not make much sense because they don't have numbers.
number 1 is people who are committing a meeting.
Okay, wrong collocation. Committing a meeting. No. They are gathered in a meeting, they are having a meeting, or they are meeting. They are in a meeting. There are so many different possibilities that you can use with meeting that have the collocation with meeting, but committing, I mean, we say committing a crime. For example, when you said committing, I thought you were going to say crime and I was like, oops. But no, it's not a collocation in English.
It can be a company meeting, and whereas in picture number one there are a lot of people indoor. On the contrary, picture number two has a leisurely time with friends.
Okay, I think you're having a little bit of a confusion thing here. I think you got a little bit confused with the pictures, and you got nervous, and then you lost track of the things you were. Oh, I'm hitting the microphone. So you lost track a little bit of the things you were trying to say. Um, just keep it in mind. Remember, the rule for this, for the pictures, is talk about the two pictures, what they have in common. Okay, you can describe a little bit what it is in the first one and what it is in the second one, but don't spend too much time on that. I would say that you should immediately go and compare what they have in common, and then start talking about the differences. Of course, similarities and differences, answering the questions. Okay, so remember the questions is, what do you think the relationships between the people are, and you can compare that. For example, you can say that in the first one, while in the first one, it seems to be like work relations. Everybody's dressed formally. They look as if they are in a theater, for example. While in the second one, it's indoors. It's inside a cafe. So to me, it seems like they're friends. Okay, so you can talk about their. I mean, there's a difference in relationships. So you can answer the question about relationships, and at the same time, you're comparing and contrasting. Okay, and you got a little mixed up here. In you repeat it actually. The meeting. Oh, I'm hitting the microphone again. I'm sorry. So meeting, and it sounds repetitive. Okay, so try to avoid repetitions as much as possible. Okay.
Friends, just for women, taking a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
In the first one, maybe there is a meeting, and
Again, meeting, repetition.
it's possible a joke has been told in this.
Okay, even though I like the passive voice construction, which of course we expect students, candidates to come up with a passive, in this case a passive voice construction, it sounded a little forced in the answer. Okay, um it wouldn't come up as very natural, but yeah, I give it to you. I mean, you used a complex structure.
Meeting, whereas in
Oh, and repeating meeting again. So be careful with that.
picture number second,
Picture number second. No. Picture number two. Okay? Or the second picture.
just maybe they are joking about something about leisure time or this.
You say leisure. Well, in American English it's leisure. In British English it's leisure. Leisure. I'm sorry, but my British English is terrible. But you sounded like you said leisurely. Leisurely. Let me hear that again.
In this meeting, whereas in picture number second, just maybe they are joking about something about leisure time or this kind of things.
Yeah.
About the
You said leisurely. It's leisure. Leisure or leisure.
relationship in the second one. They are close friends, whereas in picture
Okay. They are close friends. Remember that you can also speculate about this. You don't know if they're close friends. I mean, they're laughing. They look as if they're close friends, but that's an opportunity to speculate. Okay, so be careful with affirming, like claiming things that may not be true. Okay, so whatever is not evident. Okay, they are in a cafe. That's evident. Okay, don't say something like, and you didn't do it, of course, but I mean, you should not say something like, they look as if they're in a cafe. No, they are in a cafe. It looks like a cafe. It might be a cafeteria, like a school cafeteria or some sort of restaurant, or but that's where they are. But they're friends, most probably, but you have to speculate. Okay.
Picture number one, maybe they are workmates. Just this kind of things.
Okay.
It could be also in picture number one a theater or all this kind of thing.
Yes, they're very good, very good.
But it depends on the costumes or the clothes. It's
The costumes. Costumes, if you talk about clothing, costumes is like a costume party, like Halloween or Carnival, like you dressed as a pirate or something else, but that's a costume. Or when you talk about a national costume, like it's a typical costume from a country, but in this case it's a just formal clothing.
more probably a work meeting.
Thank you. Maria, which people do you think will laugh for the longest time?
I think the people in the picture number 2, because they seem.
Remember picture number 2, well, second picture or the picture in the middle, I would probably say. Remember that they don't have numbers.
To have a very close relation, and maybe they also share a lot of experiences, and they are maybe remembering a funny travel or
a funny trip, fun trip. Be careful with the meaning, the difference between fun and funny, okay? Because remember that fun is something when you have a good time, and funny is something that makes you laugh, okay? But we don't say funny travel. Remember that travel is not, we use it more as a verb, to travel, and we use it as a noun in certain collocations. We use travel, for example, travel agency, travel brochure, travel plans, travel agent, travel agency, or when you use it in plural, when you talk about your travels, like you can have a book of travels, okay? But we don't say a single travel, we don't say that. We say trip, okay? A fun trip. That would be a better collocation.
Something funny they lived, and I think it should be that picture.
Good, thank you. Now, Maria, here are your pictures. They show people learning a new skill. I'd like you to compare 2 of the pictures and say why people want to learn skills like these and how difficult these skills might be to learn. All right?
Okay. I'm going to compare picture number 1 with number 2.
Number?
Both pictures show a couple of persons learning things together.
Okay, persons. Again, I think we've talked about this before. Remember that persons is something, it's more formal, and we normally use it in written form. Like you would see a notice, like in an elevator, like the maximum capacity 5 persons, or in written form mostly. In speaking, we use people. People would be the natural plural of person. Doing, learning, and there was something there that didn't quite click, but it was okay.
In the first one, they are abroad.
They are abroad. Be careful. Remember, try not to claim something as true. Speculate. They might be abroad. Okay.
They are kind of skating.
In that case, they are the kind of does not fit. They are skating. I mean, it's obvious. They're wearing skates.
On ice skating. And in the second one, they are learning to play the piano.
Okay.
I think in both cases, you have to be very, have a very tough discipline.
Okay, I like it. I like the way you said in both cases, and then you join all the 2 pictures, what they have in common. Okay, that I like that.
And you have to practice a lot, whereas in the second one, in piano learning, you need
in piano learning, well,
to have concentration,
Mhm.
and it seems a more serious activity.
It seems like a more like you missed the like. It seems like a more serious activity.
Whereas in the first one, it's more a leisure, more as a sport activity. So it should be funnier. In both cases, they seem to.
It should be funnier. And be careful, because if you meant more fun, you can actually say funner. It's not very common. It's very infrequent in English to say funner, but more fun. I would probably say more fun, because funnier. Remember, funny is it makes you laugh.
Enjoy it, but in one case, in the piano learning, it seems like more still, or not so a lot of movement. But in the first one,
I think that whole section, I didn't. It was not very clear what you meant. I think I have an idea, but it was not that clear. So it could have been a little more effective, but it's okay.
it should be funnier under my point of view.
Okay, remember, funnier, fun. So you have homework, both of you. Thank you. Now, Jesus, who do you think will have most difficulty learning this new skill?
Well, it seems to be more difficult. Picture number 3.
So picture number 3 seems to be just the order. Change the order. Picture number 3 seems to be, the last picture seems to be more difficult.
It's not only physical skills, also psychological skill and mental, because you have to learn a job. So it could be difficult for the apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship. Did you mean apprenticeship? For the apprentice? I don't know.
To learn these new skills, or this new task in this kind of job.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I'd like you to talk about something together for about 2 minutes. Here are some factors that might influence people's job choices and a question for you to discuss. First, you have some time to look at the task. Now, talk to each other about how these factors might influence a person's job choices.
Okay, Maria, what do you think if we start with chances?
I'm sorry, Maria, but your children are something really special. They're so cute and nice.
For promotion. I think it would be what an ideal job would be, because it's quite difficult sometimes to achieve, because it depends sometimes of the hierarchy.
Okay, it depends on. You can do it because you've done it before, but I think in this case you had a momentary lapse.
Organization of a company, and it's not quite easier to achieve it.
It's not quite easy. Not easier, easy. It's not quite easy to achieve it.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, but at the same time, I think the salary is also important when you choose a job, and more at these times, because we all need to earn some money in order to get a good life. So I think on my point of view, it's a topic that all of us never talk about.
Okay. All of us never talk about. That was an odd construction. I would probably say it is not something that everybody talks about. It is not. So I would use the negative in the beginning. It is not something that everyone talks about or everybody talks about. Okay.
But I think it's important, at least for me. What do you think about?
Okay. So again, Jesus did really well initiating. here. Remember that here we evaluate a lot on, I mean, what you do to initiate the conversation. When you receive, when you're asked, for example, your partner asks your opinion, and you follow the process. I mean, you have to acknowledge whether you agree or disagree. Then you have to say why. Sorry, again, the microphone. And you have to say why, and then you give your opinion and you elaborate a little bit more. That's something you did, and it's very well done. So, very good.
You're right, but at the same time, it depends on your experience.
You said it depends on your experience. So you know how to use the preposition on. Very good.
No, or your background. At the first years of experience, it doesn't matter the salary as much as you grow in your experience background.
As much as you grow in your experience background. Sounds a little strange, but I'll take it. I mean, you're using comparatives. In this case, you're using equatives, you know, like as much as and things. Yeah, and this is good because this is the kind of complex structure that we want candidates to be using.
But what about location? Because in my case, my last job was in the about commute. It was in the opposite part of the city, so every morning was a nightmare to get there. What do you think about?
Yeah, I had the same experience as you.
I think this part was very natural. When Jesus, when you talked about your personal experience, I suppose you felt it because you said later when we had the conversation that this part felt more natural to you. And talking about your personal experience is a great way to expand on an idea. And I can feel, for example, that Maria also responded to that experience.
I work in the other side of the city, and it took me long hours to get there.
Good collocation, long hours, because hours are not. We say long hours. You work long hours. Oh, yeah, very good.
And a lot of traffic jam. So I think location is also a key point.
Okay, location is also a key point. That's very good. Very well said.
To take into account. Yeah.
And about creative opportunities.
Okay, single. It's not bad. I mean, don't take it as a bad thing. But you know, it's individual sound, creative. Okay, so we say creative, not creative. I mean, you had a problem with the stress and of course with the individual sound of the vowel. Okay, so we say create, so the stress goes on the A, creative.
What I think about this is this keyword is about to have an enriching experience. So
very good, enriching experience.
So in this case, finally, every single job turns into daily routine, but it's quite important to have an opportunity to be a creative worker.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right. I think also that you need a part of innovative in your daily business.
You need a part of innovative. Well, I would say innovative, but that's American pronunciation. Innovative would be British. That's okay. But I think the whole construction was incorrect. Let me listen to this again.
Worker.
Yeah, it's right. I think also that you need a part of innovative in your daily business.
I think you need a little bit of innovation in your daily business. That's what you should have said. You need a little bit of innovation, and you use innovative. It would be the adjective. So I think you needed the noun in this case. Okay.
Because otherwise, you said, as you mentioned,
Otherwise, as you mentioned, that's fantastic.
You just do routine task, and your brain gets no input.
Thank you. Now you have about a minute to decide which of these factors you think is the most important to consider.
If you are agree, we can cross what we are not agree. Maybe.
Okay, you started really well, but then you said what we are not agree. and remember that we don't say that, we say what we don't agree about. Okay, so the preposition at the end, and say what we don't agree about. Okay, so this is a pretty basic mistake, Jesus. So be careful with that, because you started fantastically. You started with, well, if we blah 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 with a conditional sentence, which was really good. Okay, so at the end was, that little thing.
For example, I don't know, contact with other people. It depends on your character. Maybe it's not that too important. In my case, I like to be concentrated on my job. So
To be concentrated on my job. Okay.
for me, it's okay, but it's not a must.
Oh, very good. It is not a must. Very good.
I like to be in contact with other people. I cannot be every day just by myself. So I wouldn't say that is the main factor. So
Okay.
maybe location, because I think we had the same experience there, and for me would be really important. What do you think
Yes,
about
and
it?
at the same time, you can save money. For example, in
Yes.
commute, for example, benzene or these kind of things.
I didn't know what you meant. I didn't get it. Benzene.
Because I think we had the same experience there, and for me would be really important. What do you think
Yes,
about
and
it?
at the same time, you can save money. For example, in
Yes.
commute, for example, benzene or these kind of things. And at the
Car
same
maintenance
time,
also.
yeah.
Oh, you mean the fuel, the car fuel. Okay, okay, I get it now. But that would be a problem with intelligibility. You're using a weird, odd term, word, in this case, benzene, but we don't use that in English.
So you can negotiate salary, because if you are closer, maybe your salary could be a little bit down. So in this case, location or commute is something really important. But at the
Thank-
same time, not to be boring in your daily routine. So maybe to have an opportunity to promotion, no?
an opportunity to get a promotion, not an opportunity to promotion. Okay, to get.
To have the opportunity to grow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, Maria, do
Mhm.
you think it's better to work in one place for life or to change jobs frequently?
I would prefer to change work frequently.
To change jobs. I mean, pay attention to the question, because it's change jobs, not work. Okay? So we normally say change jobs.
But it's also true that you need to have the opportunities, because sometimes you want to change and you don't get the right opportunity. In my case, I had the chance to change every 5 years, as I mentioned before, and I feel lucky.
Okay. And what do you think, Jesus?
Well, it depends on the character. So I consider myself a little bit stubborn, and so changes are a little difficult for me. So at the same time, if you are looking for a promotion or you are looking for new experience, it's a good way having different experience.
It's a good way to have. The answer was fantastic. I mean, it's a great answer. But here, remember that it's a good way. So after this noun, it's a good way to. Okay, we use infinitive.
And changing in jobs.
Okay, and Jesus, what are the advantages of working for a small company rather than a large one?
From a point of view, and is connected with one of the keywords we have seen before, contact with people. Maybe in a small company, you have a small group and it's a close relationship.
It's a close relationship.
I have been working for big companies and it's a little bit cold, because you are just like a little chain. and it's not quite easy to.
You're a little chain. Did you mean that you're a little link, like a small link in a chain? So if you mean that, I mean, remember that chains are made of links. So you're just a link in the chain.
To be part of the group. Whereas if you are in a small company, you can see properly the whole function of the company, and maybe this is one of the best advantages.
Very good. I mean, I overall I like your answer because it's very deep and it's very profound. Very good. And Maria, do you agree?
Yes. I think working in a big company is like living in the city. It's more impersonal. It's difficult to get to know all the departments and all the people. And working in a small one, you can get closer to the people, and it's like living in a town. So it has his advantages and also his disadvantages, because when knowing all the people so close, then you can have some problems also.
That was a fantastic answer. Very good answer. Nothing to comment on that. It was very, and I can feel, for example, that it was a very honest answer. Very good. Good. And what kind of jobs deserve the highest salaries? Okay, awkward silence. Sometimes, and this is for you to know, okay? Don't worry, because we do this practice because, so you can be prepared for the exam. Sometimes, part 4, the examiner has to balance out how much every candidate has participated. So here you would notice, for example, that I might probably direct questions to one candidate over the other, because sometimes, and this is true, sometimes there are candidates that try to take the whole thing for themselves, and they don't allow the other candidate to take part, to say something. So part 4 is a very good chance for the examiner to direct questions to the person who didn't do a lot of speaking, or who has participated less. So in this case, when I throw the question and I don't say names, it's anyone's start. I mean, anyone can start answering. Okay, so don't let the again the microphone. So don't let the awkward silence continue. The examiner just throws a question, and of course, anyone is free to start answering. Okay, there's no rule for this. I mean, I can direct a question to someone in special, or I can just leave it for anyone to answer. Okay.
I think it should be the doctors and also the teachers, because I think they really add value in society. They work, for example, teachers with the children, who are our future, and the doctors care about us. So they just work for making our lives have more quality.
Well, the last part was not so needed a little help, but fantastic answer, wonderful answer. To make our lives easier, or try for they work for the betterment. We have the word betterment, which is really nice. Jesus, what do you think?
Yes, it's not the reality in our country, but researchers, for example, they are working for a better future in different aspects like health or science in general. Mm-hmm. So, but what we cannot see in our country, I'm talking about politicians, for example, that the results are not too close, that results coming in a few years, and that's the problem with science, that you don't see the results immediately. Yeah. But they deserve all the money they can. For example, nowadays there are like a survey about implement a 2%
about implementing. Okay, about implementing
of the PIB to.
Okay, I heard that when we were doing the exam. PIB I think those are the initials in, it's an abbreviation in Spanish, I think. Um, so it's G, it's a gross internal, I don't remember. I think it's GDP. GDP in English is GDP. Okay, the gross. I don't remember, but I know it's GDP. In English, we don't say PIB. We say GDP. So be careful with that because that might be totally confusing. Okay.
To science, and I think that this is the future. And we can now see with all this pandemic that the researchers are the key.
Good.
Thank you.
That was a good answer. And this is the end of the test, I think.
That is the end of the test.
So, finally, as I told you, I think you did a great job. The part that I felt was a little weaker was the picture description. In general terms, it was just enough to make a pass. This only that part. Remember that the structure is compare and contrast the two pictures, say what's similar, what's not similar, at the same time answering the question. Whatever is not evident, speculate. Use speculative, speculations like might be, could be, perhaps, and other structures as well. Also, remember structures of comparisons, like while both pictures are, although the first one is this, the other one is that, and things like that. Okay, so I think that the part that needs a little more work is part 2, the picture description. But I think in general, the third one, the collaborative task, the one in which you had to agree on something, I think it went well. And the last part, the further discussion, I think it went really well as well. I mean, of course, there are tiny little things like grammar and structures and some collocations, that vocabulary that didn't come as effectively as as it should. But I think generally you got the point, and I think generally you have good control. Okay, you have good control of grammar and vocabulary, just enough to make a good pass in the advanced exam. Okay, so I really hope that this video helps you to improve on and remember that we can do it again anytime soon. Okay, so thank you very much. Have a good night. Bye bye.